Hey guys, what's up? This is Casey. This is Coach Tom. This is Shot Science Overtime number 141. And we want to remind you guys that this is kind of like our podcast show where we get together and we try to answer as many questions as we can for you guys that you might have for coaches, or that you were just trying to figure out what the answer is and maybe you don't want to ask anybody else. So we're here to answer those questions for you guys. Before we get into that, we're going to have a topic that we discuss at the top of the show that we think is going to help you guys in developing your game, making you a better player, maybe give you some peace of mind. And while we're doing that, that's when you guys send us your questions. You can leave them here in the chat. That's probably the best spot, or you can send them to us on Twitter, where we are at Shot Science. But just keep in mind, this is our longer form show where we're going to be doing this for about an hour. And if you want to watch some of the shorter form tutorials that we have, go watch those on our channel. We have several hundred of them for you guys to check out there. And we'll probably be referring to them throughout the show too. So if you're not into this, that's cool. But we're here to help some people answer questions about basketball. I will tell you to go follow us on all of our social media stuff. So we are at Shot Science or Shot Science on everything, whether that's Twitter, Google+, YouTube, subscribe there. Follow us on Instagram. We're doing cool things there. Facebook, we got tons of people over there. And follow us on Snapchat. Whatever it is, we are Shot Science. Okay, so, and go tell your friends and family to check us out. But our topic for today is, does the starting five matter? And we get questions all the time from people that are just so concerned because they are not in the starting five, or that's their dream to be in the starting five. And we just want to kind of give you guys some of our insight into what that's all about and whether it even matters. So what are some thoughts you have on that one?
Well, I think that just over the history of basketball and maybe other sports as well, what people have done is put so much emphasis on the fact that I'm a starter, or that person over there and that one there, they're all starters, and that gives them some extra.
Well, people equate starting with the best players or the most important players.
Yeah, that's true. And in reality, I had a college coach say to me one time that he didn't necessarily care about the starting five. He more cared about what the five players were, or who they were at the end of the game, because that's when the game was going to be decided. And I think there's a lot to that. The reason that players kind of get into this whole starting thing is about ego. Oh, I'm a starter. I'm a starter, and you're not. Okay, that kind of gives us this little stretch over other people. But in reality, what happens is that when you go on the floor, probably the guy who was the sixth, seventh, or eighth guy could probably go in there and play okay and do a pretty good job.
Well, I think part of the issue is that there's such a ceremony around the starting five and all that.
Yeah, and their introductions before games and all of that. And in reality, it's not that important as far as I'm concerned as a coach.
And we've talked about it before, where it's like winning games and coaching. It really comes down to strategy.
Yeah.
And when people are picking the starting five, or coaches are picking the starting five, that doesn't always mean that their strategy is to put the best guys in there.
That's right.
You might be facing a matchup where the other team has some 7-foot starting center, but he can't play the whole game because he gets gassed so fast. So you put in your big guy, and he's going to have that matchup. And as soon as he's out, then maybe your regular guy goes in.
Right.
Or whatever the situation might be. Or maybe you have a 6-man scenario where, it's something like, on the Warriors, they have Andre Iguodala, and, he's a former All-Star, and he was the MVP of the finals last year. And, he comes in off the bench as an integral player on that team.
And I don't imagine that he has any negative feelings about that either.
No, well, if you're winning and doing well, it's hard to complain about that.
Absolutely.
But that's almost like a secret weapon that you throw that guy in, because people get tired, and you can't always have your A team out there all the time.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter which player you are. There's always going to be times where maybe you're sick a day, or you've been running hard the whole time, or whatever
injured,
it is, or there's an injury.
Yeah.
And so that's going to change. So you can't get so caught up in this kind of, it's almost silly, because you could essentially get subbed out in the first 10 seconds of the game. And what does it matter then?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
it's all it means is that you started the game,
Yeah.
and that's it.
Yeah.
And people have this big buildup about it, and I can see that some people take the pride in getting on that list or being that person, but I think that what's more important is to just be a player that goes out there, plays hard, and makes a difference. Because being in the starting five does not go. It's not what goes down in the record books. Winning and being a part of a team and putting the points on the board are what really gets remembered.
Right. Absolutely true.
And you can see that last year in the finals, Andre Iguodala. I mean, do you think that he's going to be, hanging his hat on the fact that he was not in the starting five or whatever, or is he going to hang it on the fact that he was the MVP of the finals? I mean, I think that the answer is clear. So, we just wanted to talk to you guys about letting go of the whole starting five thing and really just try to work on what we talk about all the time, and that is being a versatile, all-around player that just plays within your abilities and keeps trying to develop yourself outside of the games.
Right.
Because if you keep developing yourself, then you're going to start having those things just kind of fall in your lap, and then it won't really matter. Oh, I'm on the starting five, whatever.
Yeah.
But then you get to play most of the game too. So you kind of have to let all that stuff go. And somebody here in the chat is saying Livingston too. Yeah, Sean Livingston. He's another guy that on any other team he would be probably in the starting five easily, and he's the backup point guard. He still goes out there tons of nights and puts up double digits, and he's doing all the other small things on the floor, rebounding, blocking shots, setting screens, and all that. And I can guarantee you that he is not complaining about not being in the starting five.
Yeah.
And that's also part of being a team too, is that you got to kind of let that stuff go and know that you're part of the game plan, even though some kind of menial thing like being in the starting five might not be on part of what you're about right then, right?
Yep, absolutely true.
Okay.
The whole thing of people. Well, I'm a starter. Okay, all right. So you're a starter. What does that mean? Well, you get to get in the game at the jump ball, and then you could be gone, like Casey said, in 10 seconds. And so, what good is that? And just the idea that a team has many guys that could step in and be a starter on that starting group is really very cool. It shows your depth, your ability as a team. And like we were looking here at Livingston, Iguodala, they bring it when they come on the floor.
Or even Ian Clark. I mean, he's like third string point guard, but when he gets in there, he takes full advantage of it.
Absolutely.
And I can guarantee he's not complaining about it.
No.
But we just wanted to have this topic for you guys because you hear it all the time, and usually it's the younger players that they get so caught up in it. But you have to realize that strategy really is what sets the starting five, and the whole ceremony around it is kind of just for show.
Yeah.
It's a way to start off a game and kind of amp people up and everything.
Yeah.
But like I said, it can come down to matchups. It can come down to injuries. It can come down to simple game strategy against the other team, and what the other team is going to put out there. I mean, it's so it shouldn't even register on your meter. It should be something where you're just trying to get in the game and then do as well as you can when you get in the game.
That's really the truth of it too. If you can come in even as a midway through the first quarter, something like that, and be a real contributor like Iguodala and Livingston, that really is cool. That really is going to take and give you more points for maybe playing more time.
Right.
More time is probably way more valuable than being a starter.
Right. Okay. So are we done with this one? Do you think you have any more on starting five?
Nope.
Okay. So we're going to stop there on the starting five stuff. If you guys have more questions about that, just let us know. But we just wanted to make sure that we were all on the same page and that you guys stop worrying about that.
Yeah.
Because there's enough things to worry about, and that is not one of them.
Yeah.
Worry about working on your game, and like we said, that stuff will start falling into your lap, and you'll look back on worrying about it as kind of a silly thing. So starting five does not matter. Not in terms of you as an individual. It matters in terms of the strategy of the game, but it shouldn't weigh on you. Okay, so while we were doing that, you guys were sending us your questions in the chat here, and hopefully something on Twitter. If you have questions that you want us to answer, about anything basketball related. It could be shooting, dribbling, passing, defense, coaching, whatever it is. Send those questions to us, and we'll do our best to answer them for you. Okay. So make sure you follow us on all our social stuff. We are Shot Science and everything. Somebody was asking about Snapchat earlier. On Snapchat, we are Shot Science, one word, and at Shot Science on Twitter. And we're going to jump into our questions right now. Okay. So let's see here, and we'll shout you guys out if you ask questions. We'll say your name here.
And where are they from?
Oh yeah, and what we ask every time when we ask or when we answer questions is we want to know where you guys are from. So we're here in California. We want to know where you're from. Okay. Let's see. This one is from Last Ride 70. Says, moving without the ball, key. How do I increase skill level? From Central Illinois. Okay, so that's kind of a hard question to answer. I don't know exactly what you're asking, but yes, moving without the ball is an extremely important part of basketball, and it's something that most players don't even really learn until later in the game.
Yeah, that's very true.
And we talk about moving without the ball in several of our videos, and kind of our thinking on it is that you don't deserve the basketball unless you are moving without the ball and creating space and creating opportunities.
Right. Just
standing there, you don't deserve to have the ball just tossed to you and then do your put together your and one mixtape on whatever it is that'll get you to the basket. It really is something where moving without the ball is going to create opportunities for you. It's going to create opportunities for your teammate, because it's going to set your defensive player kind of off balance and not he's going to have to play catch up with you. And then also it kind of messes up and puts off balance the defense as a whole.
Well, you do. And that's one of the things that probably bothers me more about lack of movement is if I'm a point guard, let's say, and I throw the ball to the left wing and I stand there waiting for the ball to come back, my defensive player is now acting as a defense against the person who I just threw the ball to.
Yeah.
And if I take and pass that ball and let's say I cut to the opposite baseline corner, now my guy is no longer really a problem in helping out on that defense. Somebody else has to do that. And so just by moving, I create a situation that's going to be beneficial to my teammate, and maybe he wants to attack the basket. Maybe he wants to take and come over the top and get a nice jump shot at the free throw line. But if I'm standing there with my defender, it makes it difficult for him to do that. So movement without the basketball has a lot of really positive things that come from it.
Yeah, I mean, just moving without the ball is going to throw a major wrench into the defense, because your guy is going to get pulled off of you, and he's going to have to get off and try to follow the ball, and it's also going to pull guys off of the other teammates of yours kind of to cover you. And so it's one of those things where they're reacting to everything that you're doing. But if you're just standing there and they get to play traffic cop defense and not even have to move, you've made their job easy.
Yeah.
And then it's going to be much harder for you because you have to react to what they're doing.
Exactly. Now, one of the keys to this young man's question is, how do I increase that skill level?
I was just going to talk about that.
One of the things that you have to understand is that when you are developing as a player is understanding all these different situations. For example, let's say that you're playing on the right wing and the point guard makes a hard drive toward you or your man. One of the things that you can do there is back cut your man. Make a back cut to the basket. Maybe he gets you the ball, maybe he doesn't, but you're moving. And your defensive person has to go with you. And so that allows your team to have less in jeopardy when you move your guy out of the way. Okay, so the thing that's really important is if you go to our videos, we talk about how you do that.
Yeah, I mean, we have
the situations really are.
We have multiple videos on that stuff. Yeah. So we have the L cut, we have the V cut, we have the backdoor cut that you talked about. There's things you can do like flashing in the post. I think there's even several more that we might even have up. But there's off ball screens, on ball screens. Plenty of flashing and just kind of hitting the open spots in the defense, but you never want to just be standing there.
Yeah, you're just standing there, you're creating a gridlock.
Yeah, and a lot of this is like, how do you increase your skill level on that stuff? A lot of it is just really understanding what is going on and knowing when and where to use those in what situations.
That point right there, Casey, probably is a major one, understanding when and where, because you can actually have some back cuts that can really kind of be a snafu for the offense because they clog everything up. So you kind of have to understand how to use those and in what situations they work best.
Yeah, and they also involve, each of those moves involves selling it kind of in one direction and getting the defense to commit and then going in the other direction. Right. And that's going to create tons of space for you because they're going to have to recover and they're going to be a step or two behind you when you start heading to the basket or try to get open on the perimeter. Right. So, and if you watch somebody like Stephen Curry or any of the Warriors, really, I mean, you see Klay Thompson do it too. They are doing that stuff constantly. And one of the reasons why Steph Curry is able to get his shot off and is able to kind of get separation from those guys that are 6 inches taller than him is that he's doing all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so, they're playing recovery all the time. Okay, let's see. What's another one here? Let's see. Augustin Kano Malero says, how can I improve my jump shot? I'm good when I have space and I have a great jump, but I miss the jump shots. Hi, I'm from Spain.
You bring up a question there, and you say I'm good when I have space. Well, if that's working for you, you don't have to worry about anything. However, if you're being crowded and you're not getting that jump shot off, those are not good shots. And one of the things that you'll find in the video that we have in our
library
is that what is a good shot? And a lot of players do not understand what a good shot is. They think that, okay, I'm open, I'm going to shoot it, and they get blocked. Or they're going to take and shoot it, and they get so panicky that the ball doesn't even get to the basket. So
yeah, I mean, for this question, I would ask, like, what are the conditions that you're missing them on?
Exactly.
Are you being contested? Is there a guy, running up to you and making you rush your shot? Are you being blocked? What's happening? And I would say also that if it's simply just because you are in the game and the pace of the game is different than what you practice at, that can be a problem. So you have to address the 3 pillars of practice, which we talk about all the time. And the second pillar is you have to work on your game speed, game intensity, shooting.
Right.
So that when you actually step on the court, it's not like you do it for the first time and, all of a sudden there's all these other influences like defenders running at you, the fact you have to do it at a kind of a quicker pace. You have to do it, with your teammates watching you. I mean, there's so many things going on, but set up those kind of conditions in your practice. And when you actually get into the game, then it's going to be much easier for you to have that at your fingertips.
Right.
Okay. And then here's one from Troy Bettingos, who says, hey, Team Shot Science, how can you improve your jump shots from Southwest Florida?
Well, that's pretty easy, really. One of the things you want to do is make sure that you have really good shooting mechanics.
Yeah.
I mean, that's true in any kind of shot that you're going to make, whether it's a set shot, layup, or whatever. The good mechanics are first. And then what you want to do is you want to practice that until you get better. And we have this little kind of slogan that we use all the time. You get better because you practice, and then you practice some more. That's how you get better. And you want to make sure that you're practicing the right thing. And that's where it comes down to having good shooting mechanics. You can go out and have the worst mechanics in the world, and you just, if you never change them, they get stronger and stronger and stronger, and your shot keeps getting weaker and weaker and weaker. So what you want to do is have, first of all, good shooting mechanics. Where do you find those? Well, you can look on in our library on shooting. They're all there in a what I want to say on that.
They're just in a library. I mean, the thing is that if you have to find, and what you're saying is you have to find the foundational elements that are going to put you in the best spot to improve and develop your shooting. Yep. And we try to give you guys those in our videos that we put up on our channel, because those are mechanics and kind of techniques and theories that we have been working on,
and that are proven.
Yeah,
they're proven successful.
I mean, you've been doing it for even longer than I've been alive, and I've been doing it my whole life. And my brother and myself, we both come from scientific backgrounds. We were scientists, and we have tried to put together the mechanics that we think are the most efficient, are the most repeatable, are the most effective and accurate that possibly can be put together using things that you were pretty much already teaching. And so, we think that we have really great foundational elements for you to start building off of. So we would say check out all of our thoughts on that. But the thing is, too, we would preface that by saying it should make sense for you, too. Like, it has to make logical sense to you. And you have to really sit down and think about what kind of information is backing up what people are saying about these shooting elements. And we make sure that we're always grounded in kind of the evidence-based, provable stuff. We're not just throwing stuff out there saying, well, if you do this, then this is going to happen because, well, it makes you feel good. We're not going to do that. We're going to say, okay, well, you're going to have to work on, eliminating this hitch in your shot because it's going to make you more efficient, and it's going to eliminate all of these extra variables that are going to make your shot inconsistent and less repeatable.
Exactly.
So things like that. But doing that, finding those foundational elements, and then doing the 3 pillars of practice, where we talk about the first pillar being the dialing in kind of purposeful, diligent practice. And that's something that we would say you would use the form shooting drill for, and work on dialing in all of your form and mechanics using that. And then going on to the second pillar, which is where you would probably address these jump shots a little bit more. And you would do high, game speed, game intensity work, where you are amping everything up to the speed of the game, intensity of the game. You're coming off of a dribble, taking your shot. You're coming off the pass. You're adding in a defender, whatever it may be. But you are creating those conditions that you would see in a game, and working on those mechanics that you worked on in the first pillar. Third pillar is just actual game experience, where you're applying the stuff that you worked on in the first 2 pillars into actual game settings. So whether that's pickup games, games for your school, traveling team games, whatever it is, you're just getting as much experience doing that stuff as you can. And if you start approaching your practice with kind of a balance of all that stuff, then you will just really start to see your jump shots getting much better. But you have to be analytical of yourself. You have to be purposeful. And you have to make sure that you're not just going through the motions.
Exactly. One of the problems that jump shooters have, probably more common than any other, is they shoot the ball too late. Actually, you can figure this out when you're shooting a jump shot, and if the jump shot is short and flat, or it feels underpowered. That means that you're shooting the ball late. And so you want to take and release the basketball as you're reaching the top of your jump. That's one of the things that you will see when you watch Thompson and Curry shoot, is that when they reach the top, that thing is gone. It's on its way. And that way you catch the power of your jump. And if you take and hang and wait like some players do, LeBron James often hangs a little bit. Well, hanging, you can't really hang, but he doesn't shoot the ball at the top of his jump. He is actually starting to descend when he shoots sometimes.
Here's some thoughts on that too, and that comes down to losing power and things as well. So, like you were saying, when you are shooting and releasing as you are getting to the top of your shot, you have maintained the power that you generated out of using your legs to get to that point.
Right.
And when we talk about shooting, we always talk about the fact that your lower body, so your lower chain, that's going to be your legs, your core, your glutes, all those big giant muscles, those are going to be like your power base. That's going to be where you generate most of the upward force that you're going to be trying to get on your jump shot.
Right.
That's great. Your upper body is going to be more of your refined, accurate, accuracy dialing in portion of the shot.
Right.
You don't want to be muscling from your upper body, because when you start doing that, you're going to add tension to your shot, and you're going to add tension to all these muscles that are trying to dial in exactly where the aim needs to be to hit that target. And so if you're trying to do any muscling of your upper body, that's going to really screw up your accuracy.
Absolutely will.
So we try to emphasize lower body is the power, upper body is the aim and the accuracy.
The guidance system, yeah.
Yeah, and so thinking about hanging in the air, what happens is that you jump in the air and you've cut the power, and if you're shooting late, you've cut the power, and so now you have to muscle using your upper body, because your lower body is canceled out at that point. So you have to muscle, and that's where your accuracy is going to really start to fall off. Right. So you don't want to have that hitch where you're waiting in the air. And you could say the same thing about, sometimes you see guys that shoot their free throws, a lot of time big guys, where they go up and they have their knees bent, and they go up and then they pause at the top, and then they try to flick it with their upper body. Yeah. And they miss like crazy, and that's because they just canceled out all the power from their lower body, and they're just trying to use their upper body to use both the power and the accuracy, and that's not a good thing. Okay, so let's get back to some more questions here. This one's from Funny Sports, who says, how do I stop rushing my shots? Well, you kind of answered your question right there. You just you've identified it.
Yeah, and so you just have to stop rushing it. Why are you rushing your shots in your own opinion? It would be my guess that you're not open enough for that shot. And one of the things so important in shooting and spacing and whatnot is understanding how much room you need to get your shot off of. And not everybody understands that. And so they take poor shots, they take contested shots, they take shots that get blocked or in some way or the other touched by the defense. So I would say that probably the biggest thing for you to do is take and work on trying to get your timing and realizing what is a good shot and what isn't.
Yeah, I think a lot of that too comes from the game speed, game intensity work.
Yes, it does.
Because you'll start to realize what a good shot is under the conditions you would see in a game, but not actually have to be in a game to figure that stuff out.
Yeah.
Rushing your shot means that you're panicking.
And you're not open.
Yep. And it's probably not a good shot, and you aren't comfortable doing what you're doing. So you need to work more on that situation. Samuel Williams says, what kind of shooting percentage uncontested shots do I need from behind the arc before I start shooting them in games? Well, that's tough.
I don't know that you should be thinking about the kinds of uncontested shots. What you need to do is, are these good shots? That's the thing that's important. And if you're shooting in a practice situation, and let's say that you're a fairly accomplished shooter, not a great shooter, maybe a fairly accomplished shooter from behind the three line, you're probably going to be wanting to look at about 40% if you're really pretty good. And I'm talking about people who are more than 15 or 16 years of age. Usually that drops back as you are younger. And so everybody thinks they should be shooting 90% from the three-point line when they are not contested. Well, you might on one day, the next day you might shoot 32%. But the thing that's really important is understanding that when you are shooting uncontested shots in a game situation, you're probably going to be somewhere between 38 and 42% of your makes.
But my feeling on this is that you can't really use uncontested practice shots as a metric for when you start shooting them in games.
No.
Like we said, 3 pillars of practice, and you'll start to see what is an effective shot in that second pillar. Because if you add in the defense, you're going to start to see what is working for you.
Absolutely.
Just keep in mind that the greatest and best three-point shooters out there are only shooting around 40 to 45% most of the time.
That's true.
At the higher levels and stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes you do come across some freaks of nature. I know that we played some people from like Utah and some people from like the Midwest when we were playing in traveling team games that were shooting way more than 50% from the 3-point line. But they were just a lot of times those are people that don't move up to the next levels of basketball just because of their height or whatever it is. But there's outliers. But I would say this. This is a super broad and just kind of a sweeping comment to make, is that you should expect that as soon as you add in the defense on add in a contested shot on whatever shot you're working on, you should expect the accuracy or your percentage to drop to about half.
Well, yeah, and there's other things that go along with that. One of the things that's really important is that when you're playing in a game situation, and this is different in that uncontested situation we're talking about there, these things affect your accuracy. Number one, the defender is there, okay, and they usually will be close to you. If you're a good shooter, they're going to be close to you. The second thing that's really important to understand is the fact that the speed of the game is going to have an effect upon your shooting abilities. And finally, the other thing that people oftentimes don't think about very much is that fatigue really plays an important role. When you are getting tired and you've been playing maybe in the fourth quarter, you may find that your shooting percentage will fall off just because of your fatigue.
Yeah.
All those things affect your shooting ability.
I mean, just think about I know specifically when I talk about it, and I know you believe the same thing, is that shooting comes down to eliminating as many variables as you can.
Yep.
Some of them you have control over, some of them you don't. And one of the variables you don't really have as much control over as you want is the defense, and that is a huge variable.
Yes, it is.
So that's something that you always have to be thinking about. And like I said, it will essentially have your uncontested shooting percentage, and that's just kind of the way that it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get some more questions. We got to start hammering through some of these. Ali Hussein says, "Hi, I've just started playing basketball recently and realized I really enjoy it. How could I get better, and what should I practice? Thanks, I'm 5'8" and from England." Okay. I think you know where I'm going with this, but
yeah, I do.
Okay, so you're 5'8", number one, forget about that. Doesn't matter.
No.
You're from England, that's cool. I know basketball is not exactly the biggest sport there, but you can definitely find people playing there. But what really sticks out for us is you asking, what should you practice?
Yeah.
For us, we think you should always be practicing all aspects of basketball. You have to become versatile and not a specialist, because if you want to play, you got to be able to do everything.
Exactly.
Specialists get exploited and pulled apart and demoralized by good defenses.
Absolutely.
Or just by good offenses as well.
Yeah.
So you have to make sure that you are covered in all cases. And there's a lot of things to do in basketball, but if you touch on them a little bit every day and you've built up from foundational elements, you'll be in a good spot. So we would say go through, we would highly suggest our videos, obviously, and kind of get the idea, or the basic idea of all this stuff. Start to work on it slowly, and then use the 3 pillars of practice on everything, and you will start to see that you're going to make some very fast strides towards being a really good basketball player.
That's really the truth. The fact that when we begin working on things that we avoid in basketball, one of the things that most players avoid is doing very much with their offhand. If you're a right-hander, you never really spend very much time with your left hand, and as a result, that is a limiting factor for you. If I were a coach and I see that there's a player on the other team that's pretty good, and he doesn't have a left hand, that's all he's going to get to play with that game, because we're going to force him to play with his left hand. And as a result, he's probably not going to be very effective. And so the thing that you want to do as a player, as a developing player, is make sure that you can use both hands equally well with ball handling skills. I'm talking about dribbling the basketball. Now, shooting, I don't necessarily think that's the case. You have a dominant hand. That's the one that most everybody works on. That's what you should work on. But when it comes to ball skills, you should be able to use either hand equally well to be effective as a player.
Yeah, and like we said, specialists get exploited. One of the things that we always talk about is that if you're just a shooter, we'll take it away from you. If you're just if you're just an attacker, we're going to take that away from you. But if you can do both, we're in a hard spot, because we have to figure out how to play you, and we have to play off and make some compromises. So you never want to be a specialist. You always want to be as versatile as possible.
And one of the terms that we use a lot with our students is that you need to have more tools in your bag to be successful. Because if we know that you have this tool but you don't have that one, the only one we're going to let you play with as much as possible is the one you don't have.
Yep. And you're only as good as your least developed skill.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, this one is from Cody Mitchell, who says, "What do you guys think I should do to improve my rebounding?" Well, rebounding is an interesting part of basketball, because there is a lot of skill involved, but there's also a mentality that you have to develop. One of the drills that you have, and we have a video on our channel, is called the monster rebounding drill. And basically what that's all about is seeing the ball go up in the air and then going after it and grabbing it, even though it's not coming directly to you after a rebound.
Exactly right. One of the things about great rebounders is the fact that they attack the rebound. They don't just go get it. They attack it with a vengeance. And one of the things that's really important for you to understand is what happens when you shoot the ball with rebounds. For example, if you take a look at most of the statistics in basketball that you might find on the internet, you will find that if I take a shot from the right wing, 60 to 70% of the rebounds are going to go the opposite direction. That really helps you a whole bunch. Another thing that really comes into play when rebounding is watch the arc of the basketball as it's on its way to the basket. A shot with a flat arc is usually going to be a long rebound, and it's going to be coming back in the direction from which it was shot.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, we have multiple videos on
Yeah.
reading the rebound, so you get that's definitely one aspect
very
of
important.
rebounding.
Important.
And then
Let me go to one more here that's really important. Be a two-handed rebounder. Too often players will go and they'll reach with one hand to secure the basketball. But it's really difficult when you're being contested by other players to get a one-handed rebound and get it down to the other hand without being ticked. And all it takes is just a little tick and the ball is out of your hand. So we always teach our guys, you always rebound with both hands.
well, there are some situations where you can tip it to yourself, but I mean that's definitely not what you want to do.
Solid basketball though.
Well, I mean, it is if like, let's say you can't reach it. I mean, obviously. But here's the thing too, is that there are some mechanical elements that will set you apart as well. And one of the ones is when the ball goes up in the air, you know where it is.
Yeah.
It's not going to do some weird thing and defy physics and go somewhere else. So you know where it is. So what you need to do is this is specifically if you're on defense mostly. It does happen on offense as well, but you need to locate the guy that you are guarding or that's closest to you, see where he is, go to him, take a cross step and put your body onto him so that he's behind you. And that's basically what a box out is.
Yeah.
And then when you do that, you can look back up and locate where the ball is. And it should be where you kind of anticipate it to be in terms of its flight. And from there, you can read where it goes. And that contact is going to set that person off balance. It's going to make sure that you are putting yourself and them between the rebounds. So if they're trying to go for it, they're going to have to go over you or around you, which it takes a long time, or it's going to be a foul. And then you go after the basketball. That's going to give you more room. It's going to also make your competition a step behind you. And, if you watch film of people that are great rebounders, and, Dennis Rodman, he's probably one of the best ever. Like modern day rebounders, let's say, watch him. It doesn't matter if the ball ends up on the opposite, baseline, he is after it and he will go get it, but he is putting his body on guys and he's making sure they are secure and then going after the ball. So it comes down to mentality, comes down to the mechanics, and also just doing some smart things that give you the advantage, right?
Absolutely correct.
Okay, let's see here. Send us more questions, you guys. This one is from Justin Times. Nice. He says, 46, am I too old to play street ball? No. Can you put one foot in front of the other? I think you'll be okay. A lot of people ask if they're too old to do stuff, and it's like, if you can go out there and pull it off, I don't think anybody's going to ask you for your age.
Truly.
And what is some of the ages of the students that you've had that come to learn shooting?
I've had them as old as their mid-40s.
Yeah.
And they want to play intramural, not intramural, but
rec
league basketball. And so I've had them all shapes and sizes. And
like beginners at 40 something.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's never too late ever.
It's never too late. It's such an enjoyable game.
Okay, this one is from Jonathan Williams, who says, hi, I'm 5'6", but I'm also strong and have a post game. Should I stop that and be a shooter because of my height, or stay with the post? Okay, we talked about this before, and we talk about it every week.
Okay.
And that is, forget your height. You can't change it. That is nothing that you can do about it. You are the height you are. You can't, get extenders. You can't take a pill. You are what you are, and that's fine. You can't change it. The other thing is that your position does not matter. Your coach is going to find that position for you, and they will tell you what you are.
Exactly.
You can't go to the coach and say, hey, I'm a point guard, put me in. That's not how it works. He's going to say, okay, Jonathan, you're a point guard. Go play the point guard. And that's how that fits in with the team. But here's the thing is that we tell every player to drop your height, drop your position, drop physical attributes, drop all that stuff, and become the best versatile all-around player that you can possibly be.
Covering all positions, not just one or two.
people that would classically play the point guard, let's say smaller players, they should be able to step into the post. They should be able to rebound. They should be able to play defense. They should be able to do all that stuff. While somebody that would classically be a post player or a taller player should be able to step out on the perimeter. They should be able to shoot. They should be able to knock down free throws. They should be able to do everything that the other players can do, because that will make you a versatile player that can play anywhere.
Exactly right.
You don't get pigeonholed. You don't get stuck playing behind, third deep in the post. You don't get, to higher levels as you go higher. Being 5'6", you could never be a post player at 5'6", playing in even high school or something like that. But at 5'6", you might be a perimeter player, and you already have all these skills that you could go in and play with your post game. And so you can take that perimeter player that's playing defense on you, you can take them into the post and maybe exploit that. But just be an all-around great player, and it will take you much further. And that's why players like Kevin Durant and Anthony Davis and, fill-in-the-blank guy who, they classically should be playing the center position because they're essentially 7 feet tall, but yet they are playing on the perimeter. Dirk Nowitzki, Kristaps Porzingis. I mean, there's all these people that, they're great perimeter players, where they should classically, just because of their height and physical attributes, they should be playing inside or power forward at least.
Yep.
So don't worry about that stuff. Just get better at your game and develop your game. Dio Brando says, I'm new in my team, but I think if I miss a play, they won't pass me the ball. What should I do? You should stop worrying about that.
Exactly.
And the thing is that if you get down on yourself for having one mistake or having one thing go wrong, then that will be contagious and it will take you down for the rest of the time that you're playing. You need to let it go and understand that mistakes and bad things, they're just going to happen in basketball because it's not choreographed. It's just going to be something that happened. Yeah. And you look at people like Michael Jordan or Steph Curry, and they've had so many things that were their mistakes or went wrong in their lives that you could never even imagine. It would be depressing for you to even think about it. But the difference between them and regular people is that they keep and stick with it, and they don't let it get them down. So you have to have more confidence in yourself. And the other thing about worrying about them not passing you the ball is that if you're doing the stuff like moving without the basketball and using all those tools that we talked about earlier, then they are going to have no reason to not pass you the ball. They're going to look foolish if you're the guy that's wide open, or you just did a back cut and you're standing under the basket. If they don't hit you with the ball, then they're the idiot. They're the one that screwed up. So make sure that you are being undeniable in your you should show them that you deserve the ball, right?
Absolutely. And call for the basketball. One of the things that happens an awful lot with young players is the fact that they got frozen out because the other players don't want them to have the ball for fear that they may make a mistake. So don't make mistakes. Don't worry about making mistakes, and just play hard.
Yeah, just play in the moment. Don't let future and past stuff screw with you. Okay, here's Hit 'em Up Jay, who says how to get up the court with a press.
There's a real interesting thought there, is that there are several different kinds of presses, and we categorize them into either zone presses or man-to-man presses. And just in a very quick thought here is that when you're working against zone presses, you beat the zone presses by moving the basketball. What does that mean? For us, we want to get ball reversals from one side of the floor to the other, so that the defense has to move an awful lot. We also want to look to get the ball to a player in the middle of that defense using passes. And we really stress an awful lot about fake a pass to make a pass. And when you do that, what happens is that the defense gets caught in between their slides and their big seams or openings where you can get through with the dribble or you can pass the ball. On the other side, as a man defense, man press, what you want to do there is, once the ball comes in, have all the players except the person with the basketball clear out to the other end of the floor. And now it's just you and the other person one-on-one. And so you beat that person with the dribble. So the difference between the two, zone is all about passing, and man-to-man is all about ball skills.
Right. And, that's kind of the basics of it.
Yeah.
And it also comes from experience on knowing what to do as well. But one of the things you don't want to do ever on either end is panic.
Oh, yeah.
Or get up in the corners or up against the sidelines, or pick up your dribble without knowing what you're going to do with it. Those can get you in big trouble. Okay, so let's lightning round some of this because we got a lot of questions and we need to get through some more. So short answers to questions. This is King Panda MC, who says, I'm a big man and I get like 3 blocks a game, but sometimes I foul. Is there a way to block the opponent without fouling? My coach says I just can't come down with my arm and just put your hands up, right?
Well, if you go to our videos once again, we have some videos there on rebounding.
No, it's blocking shots.
I'm sorry, on blocking shots and how to not take those fouls. One of the things that players do is they go up and they swing at the basketball. And oftentimes what they'll do is they'll make contact with the other player's hand or arm, and they get called for that. One of the things that we like to do is to go up with one hand, and we kind of have this
cylinder.
The cylinder approach, and that fact, when you jump, you're in this cylinder and you jump straight up and you make contact with the basketball right above that cylinder instead of reaching out and trying to hit the ball against the wall.
Yeah.
I mean, that all looks great on
highlight films.
Well, yeah, but in reality, probably most of the people that make those big swings on the ball end up taking fouls as well.
Yeah, well, here's the thing, is that you own the space that you have in that cylinder when you go straight up and down. Yeah. As soon as you break through the cylinder, you don't own that space, and it can be a little bit sketchy. And the other thing, too, is that when you are swinging at the ball, you are taking the chance of it being a foul because, I mean, it's the potential for you to foul them is much higher if you do that. It also looks like a foul. Yeah. So it doesn't matter if you get a completely clean block. A lot of times the referee is going to call it because he just saw you, unload on that guy, and it just looked like a foul to them. Yeah. So the smart thing to do too, and the other part about too, and Bill Russell talks about this, is the fact that if you go up there and you just spike it into third row, they get the ball back.
Yeah,
exactly. I mean, you did nothing really but stop them on one attempt. They get the ball back. So the smart thing to do is just to get up there, misdirect their shot, because it's all about just changing their shot so they miss it. And if you get a finger on it, then you should be able to get the ball back more than anybody else on there because you know where it should be going.
Exactly.
So
right.
if you get a block and the ball, you just did 2 things that were awesome.
Yeah.
But go check out our video. I think it's called How to Block Shots. This one is from Robert Stark, who says, if I'm being chased down by a defender, should I jump stop or should I just slow down my dribble to pump fake?
One of the things that we teach is the fact that if you are making a run to the basket and the person is right close to you, we want it to, and you question whether you can get there and finish or not without them blocking the shot, we always jump stop. Give them a little up fake and let them go flying by, and then you go ahead and finish the shot. So we stand really strong on using that jump stop in those situations.
Control is like the most important part of all this. You got to stay in control of everything. We have a video series called Finishes at the Rim, where we give you a ton of things that you can do when you get to the rim in those situations. And a jump stop and pump fake is one thing, but even sometimes regular finishes where you take the contact, that's another thing. Yeah. So it also depends on it. So the tools that you have depend on what you're going to do, but also the kind of the experience that you have, you're going to be able to read that stuff and know what to do better as well. So apply the finishes at the rim to the 3 pillars of practice, and you'll have a better idea of what to do. Let's see. This one is from Miggy Melendez, who says, I'm 5'7" in the 7th grade. I want to grow to my fullest potential. Does lifting weights interfere with your growth? Okay. Again, height, drop all that, you guys. It doesn't matter. Okay, 7th grade. We talk about lifting weights all the time, every week, and people keep asking about it. The simple answer is this, is that lifting weights does not pay off as much as you think it will. It does not put you into the next level of basketball. Lifting weights also is not time well spent for younger players.
No, it's not.
Because if you spend the required time in the gym, let's say you spend an hour every day in the gym working on lifting weights, that's an hour that you could have spent developing your skills, which is what will take you to the next level.
Yep.
Just because you become this big jacked up dude does not mean that you're going to get a college scholarship. What does mean you're going to get a college scholarship is the skills that you've developed.
Yeah. If
And
you can shoot it and you can defend, I mean, those are key.
and your skills will be there, much more quickly than your muscles will be there, and they will pay off much more than lifting weights. And so if you want to be a better player, spend the time developing your skills, not lifting weights. Also, you're in the 7th grade. There's no reason for you to be lifting weights in the 7th grade. I think lifting weights when it comes to sports-specific weightlifting and stuff, that should only be for people, essentially when you get into college is really when it becomes important, because you're going to have the time and that's going to be factored into your lifestyle. But when you're a kid that's growing, you shouldn't be messing around with that stuff, because you don't know if you're going to be able to, you don't know how you should train. Even though you think you do, you probably don't know what you're doing. And you need to have a trainer to help you with that stuff and make sure you're doing it right. And also, it's a waste of your time. So work on developing your skills, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with that one totally.
Let's see. That doesn't mean that you don't work on developing your athleticism or you don't work on your conditioning and things like that. Those are important things to work on. But you can work on that in a way that is very sport specific. So maybe you're doing dot drills and ladders and running suicides and sprints, or you're working on the vertical jump program that we have. Those are things that will have more of a correlation than bench press and squats and all these other things. What? This?
Ethan, yeah.
No, I mean, lifting weights does not stunt your growth.
No.
It can injure you, which can be very bad.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't want to get caught up in a situation where you hurt yourself. And somebody's saying that that's with free weights and stuff like that. Don't waste your time. Resistance machine, all this stuff. Don't waste your time with that stuff. Go check out somebody like Alan Stein, he's kind of like our strength and conditioning coach guy, and he shows you all these body weight things that you can do that are translatable to basketball. You can go check out our vertical jump handbook. We have tons of exercises and things that will help you develop your conditioning, your athleticism, your vertical. Those are things that are going to be much more important than weight training. Okay, here's one from Tadas, who says they're from Lithuania. Love your videos, guys. Wanted to ask, what should you look into when trying to steal the ball without fouling? Okay, this is one that we get every once in a while as well. And we tell people that trying to steal the ball from the ball handler is a great way to get a foul. And typically that's because you're reaching in, you're trying to poke at it, you're trying to grab it, or whatever you're trying to do. But that's like close quarters combat, right. And you will find yourself getting fouls even if you don't actually foul them, because it'll look like a foul to the referee. So most actual steals in reality come from picking off passes and anticipating passes.
Yeah, it's true.
Right?
Yeah. One of the things that if you're in close combat with that person and you're contesting them, if you're going to reach for the ball, always reach for the ball from the underneath side. Officials don't tend to call fouls that you may create from going from the underneath side. Now, that's not absolute in every situation, but they hear and see this when you're reaching in and maybe get an arm or a hand. If you come from the underneath side, less opportunity for a call against you there.
Okay, here's one from Ethan Cottam, who says, at what range should I bring the basketball down to my waist when shooting? From England. You should never bring the basketball down to your waist if you can avoid it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, we talked about it earlier, is that your mechanics have tons of potential to add in variables. And these variables each time add more complexity and add a new thing that can go wrong in your shot. And it's also much more hard or much more difficult to have a repeatable shot, a consistent shot, when you have all these things that are changing up all the time, or that you're adding in all these elements. So we say, have the most efficient, pared down mechanics that you possibly can, and bringing the ball down does nothing more than help you generate rhythm. And if you are generating rhythm with your footwork, and you are down when you catch the ball, then you will be able to eliminate things like bringing the ball down and dipping it down, which is so unnecessary with your shooting.
Well, yeah, and there's a couple other things come into play there too. If you bring the ball down to your waist, one of the things that can happen is that takes too much time to get rid of the shot. If you take and use what we call as up rhythm instead of dip rhythm, you find the shot gets away quite a bit quicker.
It's quicker and more efficient.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things other that kind of comes into play is that we call this area the box, and it's from your mid-thighs to your chin. And anytime that you have the basketball in that area, it's easy for the defense to reach in and flick that thing out. So we avoid people getting the ball into this mid area of their body. We want it to be above or out to the side so that it's not easy to get their hands on. But dipping the basketball is not a good way to go.
No, and if you ever watch the guys in the NBA that do it, or on TV or anywhere, the reason that they do it is typically because they catch the ball at a standstill and they have no rhythm generated.
Right.
And so they have to do something like that to have some kind of rhythm going into their shot. But if you are catching the basketball, the best thing that we can tell you is to always be stepping into the shot, always use your footwork to generate the rhythm, and you'll shorten the pass. You will be more efficient on your shot, which will be quicker, and you'll be able to go from low to high instead of high to low to high when you are catching it straight up and down, and then have to do all these other mechanics that make no sense to use because they are so much less efficient. Yeah. Okay, next thing. That we could rant on that stuff forever, but Samuel Williams says, gotta go. Thanks, Shot Science. This video is very helpful. Thank you. Miggy Melendez asks, how do I get more range on my shot? We always tell people, well, we have a video you can go watch called How to Develop Deep Range, and it's basically what we are talking about is using the form shooting drill to progressively work yourself back. So you start in very close from a few feet away from the basket, work on the form and developing that, take a step back after you master that, then you master the next range, take a step back, and you master as you go back around the basket in that semicircle, and eventually you'll find yourself back in the three-point range with the mechanics in place and the muscle memory to be able to pull it off without any breakdown of your shooting. So that's what we tell people, and it works. Nate Dogg MR says, is playing basketball overseas an actual good option? Yeah, I mean, it's another option. I mean, you have to be on the level to be able to play that. It's not just an open rec league or anything like that. It is professional basketball. Let's see. Baller Robert says, I have my hands up on defense and I'm 5'10", but little guards still can make layups over me. But it seems like this happens every time. What should I do? Well, I think that there's several things that you can do. Number one is I would challenge them before they just get up on you, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Challenge the ball, make them make a decision that they weren't ready to make. Sometimes if you kind of fake into them, they're going to either fumble the ball or they'll try to pass it to a teammate or something where you can make them do something, or take the charge if they're coming barreling in, stand your ground and have them just run you over, and you'll find that you'll get the foul and be going the other way. So there's several things that you can do in that situation. Okay, we got one more question here. Let's see. Ali Hussein says, are there any specific dribbling drills which will help you beat your defender? Thanks. Okay, well, we got many of them on our channel.
Yeah, we do, yeah.
And we think that there's different parts of developing your dribbling, and some of them are just developing your ball handling and getting the control down, and we have tons of stuff on that. You can go check out all of our videos on developing your weak hand. There's a ton of dribbling drills that we have in there, like the figure 8 drill and the in and out and the windshield wipers and whatever it is. We have a bunch of drills on that stuff. And then also go look at our dribble attack videos. And what you do is you start putting together those dribble attacks and using the 3 pillars of practice. All of a sudden, you'll start to have a bunch of options for you to work on. right?
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, you guys, that's all of our time today. We want to thank you so much for all the questions. If we didn't get to your question, it's not because we don't like you. It's because we just ran out of time. If you want to reach us during the week, make sure you follow us on all of our social platforms. We're on Facebook, Google+, Twitter, YouTube, subscribe, Instagram, and Snapchat. We are Shot Science and all that stuff, and we are doing different things on all those places, and we would love to have you join us on that stuff. Tell your friends and family about Shot Science Basketball. And if you have questions that you want to ask us next week, we'll be back. All right? So we'll see you then. Thanks so much.
Bye, guys.
Bye.